so we got a good question from our buddy Mike. Mike is wondering what he can do outside of the gym to support his training inside of the gym because he can only train 2 to 3 days a week. And he feels like that's just not enough. He needs to train more. And so he's wondering what he can do outside of the gym to help his training on the inside. He's thinking about things like cardio, weightlifting, stretching, solo drills. And so he's kind of wondering what I would advise him to do. So Mike, first off, thanks for the question. And this is sort of one that comes up a lot. I know from my experience as a coach, a lot of students have this question. And my first piece of advice to you, brother, would be to be okay with training 2 to 3 days a week. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of times people feel like they need to train more, but they really don't have a reason to train more other than they just want to train more and they want to get better faster. And again, this is sort of a lifetime thing, right? I'm going to train until I kick the bucket. And I think a lot of us are in that same boat. We're going to keep training for a long time. So there's no reason to rush it. Now, let me give you some actual tangible advice, because I know it's kind of like, man, that sucks, right? I don't want to hear that. I want to hear something I can use. And so I was thinking about my students and some of my purple belts and brown belts that I have in the gym that are tough as nails. They win competitions, they do well in competitions, and they give me, they give me fits. They're good, solid dudes at their weight class or at their belt level. And so I was thinking about these guys and sort of drawing some sort of common threads amongst them. And so I've got 2 big ones. So the first one is that when they're here, they are 100% engaged, both mentally and physically. And I say this because I see guys that come in the gym. Again, I've been here for years, been coaching for years, and been training jiu-jitsu for the better half of my life. And I've watched people come into the gym and they're there physically, they're here, but they're not really here. They're like going through the motions and they're rolling, but they're just like, it's almost like they're just here. They're not really engaged. And a lot of times I see this the most in guys that are training too much, right? They become so fatigued and so wore out that by the time they're just here, like they're fatigued, they're overtraining, they're just, I'm just drilling a little bit, and then I'm gonna roll a little bit, and then I'm gonna get out of here, and I'm gonna train again tomorrow because I feel like I'm supposed to. And so again, you wanna make sure that, again, you're training, when you are training, because you're only doing 2 to 3 days a week, make sure you get the most out of it. Be 100% engaged in what's going on. The second thing that I noticed about these guys is that when they train, if I give them advice or if a coach gives them advice, if they take some information from the internet or maybe they get a new DVD and they take some moves from that thing, they put it to use. They put it to action. They don't let that stuff go to waste. Because again, these guys all have jobs, families, and all this stuff, so they know that, man, to get the most out of it, I've got to make, to get the most out of my training, I've got to make the most of it. And so, for instance, last week, one of my guys, Eugene, we were rolling, and he was allowing me to get into the collar grip too much, getting across collar, and when he was passing the guard, he was getting a hold of the knees, but not immediately going after it. So what was happening was I was able to sit up and start to break grips and engage. So I told him after the class over, I was like, hey man, you're letting me get into the collar too much, and you're not really going after the passing fast enough. So this week when I rolled with him, guess what happened? Eugene was fighting that grip off tooth and nail. He was not letting me get the collar grip. And as soon as he was making contact with my knees, he was going for the pass and really attacking. And so he did not let that advice go to waste. And he actually told me afterwards, he's like, hey man, I was really trying to do what you said. I was really trying to work on it. Because again, that's something that happens a lot of times when I'm training. So instead of, which a lot of people do, you'll give them advice, you'll show them a technique, you give them something, whatever it is, and they just kind of go, okay, cool, I'll work on that, and then they forget about it. Eugene held on to it and was like, all right, today I'm on the mats, no one's getting in my collar, I'm going to touch and go every time. And so I noticed this amongst all these guys because they're always working on something and they're really trying to focus on something. So again, they're immersed in class, they're really engaged, and whenever they take in new information, whether it be from advice from a coach or from DVDs online, whatever it is, they're using it, they're putting to use. They're always working on something new. They're always bringing in some sort of stimulation to their game, so they never go stale. And the last thing I would share with you, Mike, is that there are some advantages to training 2 to 3 days a week. One, you can do all that other stuff, like the working out stuff, but you're going to be well rested mentally and physically when you come back into the gym. Again, I know from doing it, training too much sometimes is not a good thing. And so if you're training 2 to 3 days a week, you are going to be, because that'll give you some time to rest in between, right? When you get back to the gym, if you're eating a good clean diet, you're doing some things like foam rolling and stretching and some active recovery stuff, maybe some weightlifting and stuff like that to help keep your body in good shape. When you get back to the gym, you're going to feel so good, you're going to be refreshed, and you're going to be able to make the most of the training that's there. So I would say before you decide to add so much more training into it or start to get all crazy with the weightlifting and stuff like that because you feel like you need to, think about how you can maximize the training that you already have given to you, and then start with that. So Mike, I hope this helps you, brother. Thanks for the question. I'll talk to you guys next time.